Talk about a crusher. Yes! Oh!
Are you kidding me?
And gone!
Welcome back to the Schoolyard Sports Podcast. I'm the host of this podcast, Lane and Frank. We're now on episode 194. So 194 episodes through, and I got an action-packed episode planned for you. We're going to be talking all about this new college football playoff we have with the 12 teams starting up next week. We got some great on-campus games, home games. We got away games. We obviously got the neutral site games later on in the playoff. Another great week in the NFL. We had Juan Soto heading to my New York Mets. We love that, everybody. Juan Soto is in New York Mets and so much more. NBA, obviously with MLB free agency, so much more. Stay tuned for this action-packed episode 194. Let's hop into it. Let's start out episode 194, how we always do, with our headlines in the NBA. Kawhi Leonard is reaching a return, everybody, to be back in this LA Clippers lineup, and that's big news to them. This is a team where I watch them, and I'm like, this could be a really, really good team if they had one more star. Now, I don't know if Kawhi Leonard is going to be a star player when he comes back. I don't. But he could be a really solid player for this team. He may not be Kawhi Leonard of 2017, 2016, 2019 that you want, a championship-winning Kawhi Leonard, but he could be serviceable. He could get you 15 and 20 a night, and he could really help out James Harden, the squad, who desperately needs one more star, and that could really help them. Kawhi Leonard, I love that he's going to be coming back to the line for the Clippers. Let's just hope it's without injuries, even though, it might be. But Kawhi Leonard, hope that knee doesn't act up too much for him when he comes back. Chris Paul, everybody, another thing in the NBA, second now on the all-time assist list, breaking Jason Kidd's record. Chris Paul is now second on the all-time assist list. He's a Hall of Famer, but is he ever going to get a championship? That's a question right there. Leave your answer on that in the comments. That's part of the headlines, everybody. Let's move to the NFL. Action-packed week in the NFL. We had a great Thursday night football game. Lions-Packers. I picked the Packers. Lions ended up taking that one 34-31. Just a great game all around. Miami Dolphins, they look like they've had a factory reset over the past couple weeks, everybody. Tua Tagovailoa, 15 touchdowns and 1 pick since returning from injury after getting hurt in week 2. Played some really good football. He's got 17 touchdowns and 4 picks in the year. 3 of those coming in one game, the concussion game. So, Tua on fire right now. Tyreek Hill playing a little bit better. If this team had Tua the whole season, sky could have been the limit. Team's still playing well, though. 6-7, like what I'm seeing right now. Miami Dolphins, nice one Sunday of the New York Jets. Minnesota Vikings, everybody. They got another great win. Helping out my fantasy football team. Not meaning to brag, but I am the 1 seed in my fantasy league. I did put up 160 points last week. The kicker is I don't play PPR. 160 points in a non-PPR league. Just give me the crown already, everybody. I'm the best at fantasy football. Okay, moving on. New Orleans Saints, nice one Sunday over my New York Giants. A little bit tough right there for the Giants. But again, do we want to lose to get a high draft pick? I think we do. Darren Rizzi, I like the job he's done with the Saints. He should be their head coach of the future, not just their interim. Like it so far, Darren Rizzi and the Saints. Philadelphia Eagles, they're just playing great football right now. They're on a great crash course. They have a great game this week against the Buffalo Bills. Excited for that, everybody. Saquon Barkley, looking like he could rush for 2,000, 3,000 yards, whatever it might be. He's playing some great football. Pittsburgh Steelers, everybody. Nice one Sunday. This team's had a complete resurgence. Justin Fields, stayed the course for them. He played well for them. Then they decided to bench him for Russell Wilson, and that was a great decision. Russell Wilson just playing the best football in years, it seems like. We love what we're seeing out of the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. They have another big game this week, but nice one Sunday over the Cleveland Browns. Tampa Bay Buccaneers knocking out the Las Vegas Raiders 28-13, like that win out of Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield playing like he has that good contract. He has been playing pretty well this year. Just, a few injuries to this team that's banged them up a little bit. Look at the Chris Godwin injury, breaking his ankle. A little bit tough right there. Maybe this team could have a few more wins in their season if they didn't have so many injuries. But I do like that win on Sunday by the Buccaneers over the Raiders. Seahawks, everybody. My guy, Mike McDonald, schemed up some crazy plays on defense, take down Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. This team's 8-5 now. Played some really good football. Like what I'm seeing out of Mike McDonald, the year 1 head coach in Seattle. Los Angeles Rams, everybody. Great one on Sunday. Just a great one. Matthew Stafford looked like vintage Matthew Stafford. Looked like a guy who could go out there and win a Super Bowl again. Looked like a guy who could go out there and win MVP. Josh Allen had a great performance. Yet Matthew Stafford played even better. Gone to a shootout with him. Ended up winning it 44-42. Matthew Stafford, credit to him. What a great game he had on Sunday. San Francisco 49ers won 38-13 over the Bears, but it did come without controversy. Deebo Samuel always has to do something. He didn't play great. Brock Purdy, still a bit injured. Christian McCaffrey out for the season. This is a lost cause this season for the 49ers. Maybe that's why Deebo's so upset. But they did get a nice one on Sunday of the Chicago Bears. And we're going to talk about Caleb Williams later on this episode. I've got a great Caleb Williams segment planned, everybody. You want to hear what I think of Caleb Williams and the Bears in year one? You're just going to have to stick around in this episode, everybody. Coming up later in the episode, my Caleb Williams segment. Kansas City Chiefs took down the Los Angeles Chargers on Sunday Night Football. Shouldn't have been that close. Chiefs played really well in the first half, going at 14-0. Then they ended up losing that lead. They were down 16-14. Matthew Wright gets the doink to get it in. He's a replacement for Harrison Butker. Had a really good game up until that point, and obviously made that kick. What a win that was for the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. Cincinnati Bengals. Best offense in the NFL, worst defense in the NFL, equals out to about an average team. That's what they are right now. Yes, I know they got the win Monday Night Football over the Cowboys, but this offense, they're playing great. Jamar Chase really helped out my fantasy team. Joe Burrow's had a great season, MVP-like season, but they're not winning games because his defense has struggled, because they play in a really hard division where they go up against teams like the Ravens. They go up against teams like the Steelers. I'll even say they go up against teams like the Browns that can put points on the board. It can ruin your defense, which has happened so far with the Bengals. They need a whole reset after the season. Maybe even head coach switch. Zachary Taylor may not be the guy for the Cincinnati Bengals, everybody. Let's move to the MLB, our final part of the headlines. Juan Soto is a New York Met, everybody. Yes, Juan Soto is a New York Met, and I couldn't be any more prouder as a New York Met fan. Now, 15 years, $765 million. Very hefty price. You may know my thoughts on that. If you don't, I think Juan Soto is worth about $300 to $400 million. But in the new MLB market we live in, after a great season he had, he's getting that money. My thinking is, it's not my money, it's my team, my New York Mets. Love that move right there. I don't care what the price was, because I know Steve Cohen is good with anything when it comes to saving the Mets. And that's what he's doing right here, getting the biggest player in the Mets franchise history in free agency. Let's just hope it's not another Bobby Bonilla type deal, everybody. Max Fried goes over to the crosstown rivals, New York Yankees. Highest paid contract ever for a lefty pitcher. Like Max Fried, like what he did in Atlanta. Really good pickup right there by New York Yankees. You got a solid rotation out. You're going to have Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, and Max Fried. What could have maybe won you a World Series last year was if you had another great starting pitcher. They have that right now, and Max Fried. Love this pickup by New York Yankees. Roki Sasaki, one of my favorite pitching prospects of all time, is now officially posted in MLB. Talked about this kid for years, since he was 18. He's going to be coming over to America after a few great seasons in Japan, playing good hitters in Japan. Not just guys who weren't good. Remind you, Japan won the World Baseball Classic over America in the last WBC. Roki Sasaki played in that WBC. He was fanning guys like Mookie Betts, fanning guys like Mike Trout, just tearing down these guys. I would give a very high price to Roki Sasaki. I would say Roki Sasaki is better than Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who got a $400 million contract last year, but unfortunately, too young to get a mega deal. He'll have to be signed to a little bit smaller of a deal, Roki Sasaki. But head over to MLB. Where will he land? Hopefully my New York Mets, but I could also see the Dodgers, maybe even the Cubs if he wants, a different market. Kansas City Royals, that is an option out there. His agent said, we don't want to go to a huge market. Maybe a smaller market would be better for him. But also, money talks. Steve Cohen may want him in New York. Hal Steinbrenner may want him in New York. And then same with Dodgers. They might want to pair him up with Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto and give him a big deal to go out to LA. That's about for the headlines, everybody. Leave your thoughts in the comments. All right, everybody, as we enter our last month of the NFL regular season, everybody, comes down to this. See if your team can make the playoffs or not. And weeks like this are so crucial in your season. We got a lot of good games this week. Let's hop into it. Schoolyard Sports, NFL Game Day. First game I have for you, Thursday Night Football. Rams versus the 49ers, a little NFC West battle. Rams got a great win on Sunday last week. Same with the 49ers winning by 25 points. I like the way this Rams team is playing. 49ers have a lost season. Let's go Rams over the Niners, everybody. Hopefully we can see that another Matthew Stafford-esque game where he just had a great game on Sunday against the Bills. Hopefully he can bring that out again on Thursday Night Football. Next one, another big one, Dolphins versus the Texans. CJ Stroud versus Tua Tagovailoa. CJ Stroud, 8-5. Maybe a little bit of trip up midseason. They haven't been playing their best football, but they're coming off a bye week. They're well rested. I think that really helped them get guys like Nico Collins more healthy. Tank Dell. Let's go with the Houston Texans over the Miami Dolphins. I know I talked about the Dolphins. I raved about them in the headlines. How Tua's had this factory reset. None of that matters right here. Texans over the Dolphins. Let's move on to the next one. Colts versus the Broncos. Broncos, pretty good rookie season from Bo Nix. They've had a really good season. Maybe a little bit favorable of a schedule, sitting at 8-5. But I think they do get the win right here. Andy Richardson, the Colts, they've gone through their troubles. Obviously, being benched for Joe Flacco, being brought back in. You get the Andy Richardson experience where he might win you a big game and then lose you a really easy one. Bo Nix, there's more consistency, like the Broncos in this one, over the Colts. Bills versus the Lions. Really good game right here. Lions, maybe the best team in the NFL. I know a lot of people have them as the best team in the NFL. I personally am not one of them. I was really high on this Bills team up until last week. You're giving up 45 points to a Rams offense that really only has Matthew Stafford and Puka Nacua, and maybe you could throw a little Cooper Kupp in there, but no real running back threat. Kyron Williams and Blake Corum didn't play their best game on Sunday. Tight ends aren't involved in this game. It's not like they have some uber offensive line, so I'm worried about this defense for the Bills. For that reason, in a home game, let's go with the Lions over the Bills. Steelers versus the Eagles. This is going to be a great Pennsylvania matchup. If there was college game day for the NFL, this would be the matchup. It's two 10-win teams going at it. In-state battle. We don't really ever get this in-state battle. It's a really good, old-time rivalry. A little trivia for you right here. Back during World War II, these two teams combined to be called the Steagles. Eagles and the Steelers, but they're not connected this Sunday. They're going to be divided. We're going to have one winner. Not one team, one winner, and that winner will be the Philadelphia Eagles, everybody. Eagles just playing too well. I think Russell Wilson has had a really good season. I think Mike Tomlin has done a really great job coaching this team, but the Eagles and Nick Sirianni are 9-0 since he shaved his head. Does that matter? In this game, I think it does. Really good win right here for the Eagles over the Steelers. Saquon Barkley runs all over the Steelers defense. Jalen Hurts does what he needs to do, gets the ball to his receivers. A.J. Brown, a little controversy this week with him. Devontae Smith, but they get the win. Eagles over the Steelers. Buccaneers versus the Chargers. Talk about the Buccaneers in the headlines. I liked how they played last Sunday against the Raiders. Chargers, they've had a little bit rough of a stretch, losing 2 of their last 3, but to the Ravens and to the Chiefs, both really good games. This Chargers team is playoff bound, in my opinion. This game is a step to that road. Let's go with Chargers over the Buccaneers. Packers versus Seahawks in the last game we have on our schedule. I really like this game. Jordan Love coming off a loss, going up against a really good defense in Seattle. Seattle fans think, ooh, if we win this game, real good shot to win the division. It's a really important game for them. Division leaders right now, but still, we need to get this win. Close out some of those teams like the Cardinals, even the Rams jump back up in there. The Packers stay alive in this race to get a top 3 seed in the NFC, and they get a nice one Sunday over Seattle Seahawks. That's about it for Schoolyard Sports NFL Game Day. Now, top 5. This week's top 5 is the top 5 transfers in college football history, everybody. Yes, transfers in college football history, not transfer portal history, just transfer history. Let's hop into it. Number 5, Travis Hunter. You may not like this pick, but I think Travis Hunter, who has a real shot to win the Heisman, has made a real impact at Colorado. Going from a Division II school, or FCS school in Jackson State, making the big jump to not just FBS football, but to Power 5 football. Yes, I know he's the number 1 recruit in the country, but he's done a great job at Colorado so far, playing both sides of the ball, something we haven't seen since Charles Woodson at Michigan. Travis Hunter, number 5. Number 4, Kyler Murray. Put on 2018 Kyler Murray tape. It might be the best tape you've seen. Kyler Murray would have been better than any quarterback this season, better than the Cam Ward, better than any Dylan Gabriel, better than any Shedeur Sanders, better than anybody last season who won the Heisman, better than Jane Daniels last season. He might even have been better, and this might be really controversial, than 2019 Joe Burrow. Kyler Murray in 2018 was so exciting to watch. I wish that team had a defense. I really do. If you gave him a Brett Venables Oklahoma defense, this team would have won the national championship. Problem was, they got into a playoff game against Alabama. They went down 28-0 early. Kyler tried to dig them out of that hole. Couldn't get it done. Kyler Murray, though, still goes down as a huge transfer from Texas A&M over to Oklahoma for Kyler Murray. And I really admire Kyler. He was a guy who was number 1 in the recruit coming out of high school, went to Texas A&M, never played at Texas A&M, had a rough ride there. People were doubting him. Went to Oklahoma. People were doubting him there as Baker's backup. Then he gets drafted in the MLB top 10. People are saying, oh, this guy should just quit football and no need for him to play this season. Shuns all those doubters, wins the Heisman that year, goes number 1 in the NFL draft. 4, Kyler Murray. Number 3, the guy who started over Kyler Murray, and a guy I used to love watch playing football in college, Baker Mayfield, everybody. Baker Mayfield also had a wild ride. Unlike Travis Hunter and Kyler Murray, he was not highly recruited at all. But he went to Texas Tech, started a few games there, got a bad injury his sophomore year, left Texas Tech, went to Oklahoma. This is back when you had to sit out a year when you transferred. So he sat out the whole entire 2014 college ball season, was a Heisman finalist in 2015, Heisman finalist in 2016, and a Heisman Trophy winner in 2017. Put on that 2019 or 2018 Rose Bowl tape against Georgia. It's a great game. Baker Mayfield shines in that game. Baker Mayfield had a great season that year. They had 1 loss to Iowa State. They're a really good team, and then unfortunately lost in the playoffs. That's the team. I think Lincoln Riley, that's his best football team ever, his first year of coaching college football. So, Baker Mayfield, he's number 3 on my list. Number 2, a little bit back in the day, but he won a national championship and he went number 1 overall. Cam Newton, everybody. Cam Newton went from Florida to a JUCO to then Mississippi State for a bad day, and then to Auburn, everybody. That's where he won the national championship. Cam Newton, number 2. Number 1, the greatest transfer of all time. Maybe the greatest college ball season we've ever seen of all time. Joe Burrow going from Ohio State to LSU. The reason this one's so special is because nobody could expect it. Travis Hunter, expected. Kyler Murray, number 1 recruit, could have saw it. 3, Baker Mayfield, he had some potential. 2, Cam Newton. Obviously, he was a top player, top recruit in the country, just got kicked out of Florida. But number 1 on this list, Joe Burrow. Nobody knew about Joe Burrow. Nobody wanted Joe Burrow when he's a transfer. All these guys were sought after when they were transfers. Not Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow went from Ohio State third stringer to trying to go to Nebraska. They say it wasn't good enough. To going to LSU, where Ed Orgeron saw something in him. Brought him to LSU. Had a good first season, won 10 games, and then winning a national championship, having the NCAA record for most passing touchdowns, having a national championship ring on his finger, and being number 1 overall pick. That's Joe Burrow's story as a transfer. That's why he's number 1 on the top 5 college football transfers of all time. Leave your thoughts in the comments. That's about for top 5 this week. Now, did you know, this week's Did You Know is, did you know the only defensive player to ever win the Heisman is Charles Woodson, everybody, of Michigan. Now, Charles Woodson was not just traditionally a defensive player, played a little bit of offense, not as much as Travis Hunter, but he's the only player to play on defense and win the Heisman, everybody. Charles Woodson. Will we see that broken on Saturday with Travis Hunter? Leave your answer in the comments. That's about for Did You Know this week. All right, everybody, it's time to listen up to your 16-year-old source, me. I got the news for you, everybody. I got the news the other night that the number 1 player in the country for the class of 2025, AJ DeBansta, he wouldn't be going to a Duke. He wouldn't be going to a North Carolina, a Kansas, a blue blood program. He's going to a program that wears blue, but it's BYU, everybody. Yes, AJ DeBansta, the number 1 player in the country for basketball, is headed to BYU. Really interesting decision, but what I'm hearing is that they're paying him $7 million, everybody. Now, I don't know if there's revenue sharing involved, but from what I hear, from my sources, is that AJ DeBansta went to Utah Prep last year, which I also tip on, in the intention that he was going to go to BYU. So he went to Utah Prep for high school, the intention of going to BYU, and that's where he's going now. And he got paid $7 million in NIL for a one and done. Everybody wants to freak out about Bryce Underwood, who's getting $12 million over 4 years, which you wouldn't even stay for at Michigan, while AJ DeBansta gets $7 million for 1 season at BYU. What I got to say for BYU is you better build a good roster around him. You better. Because AJ DeBansta is a really talented player. He has potential to be the best player in college basketball his freshman season. But he needs good guys around him. He needs good veteran players around him if they want any chance of winning a championship. They're in a great conference, the Big 12. He'll be going up against tough teams like Houston. He'll be going up against other tough teams like Kansas. It's going to be interesting to see how AJ DeBansta does in college basketball. But it's revolutionary, everybody. Going to a little bit smaller of a market, BYU, and getting a huge NIL deal. This puts BYU on the map in the NIL game, and it puts AJ DeBansta really on the map as a trendsetter in college basketball. So AJ DeBansta, he'll be a number 1 pick in the 2026 NBA draft. You can mark my words on that. But he's headed to BYU, everybody, for college. That's about for your 16-year-old source. I got that news for you. Posted on Instagram and Twitter earlier this week. Of course, it came true. AJ DeBansta, a BYU Cougar. Let's talk about Bill Belichick, everybody. And what lane would I take if I was in Bill Belichick, the greatest NFL head coach of all time, shoes? Now, I'm not going to say he's the greatest football coach of all time. That's still remains to be seen. Maybe if he makes the jump to the college game, has success in the college game, which we're about to talk about, he could be the greatest coach of all time, over the likes of Paul Bear Bryant, Nick Saban, a few other guys up there. But he's the most wins in NFL history, Bill Belichick. He is an elite coach, obviously. Most Super Bowls. He's got 6 Super Bowls right now, Bill Belichick. I don't think he's going to get another because I think he's going to head over to the college football game, and this is going to be really interesting. The one part I don't understand is all of the rumors that Bill Belichick took an interview with North Carolina, that they're ready to offer him the position, is why North Carolina for Bill Belichick, and why Bill Belichick if you're North Carolina. You just had Mac Brown, who was a good head coach for you for a very long time. Then you went to Texas, won national championships there. Then he retired. Then he came out of retirement in 2018 for North Carolina and had a really good time in his first few years there. And then things just start to derail because of his age, because he wasn't able to recruit, because the lingering question of, well, how long is he going to be here for? Do you really want those same questions lingering with Bill Belichick, where it's like, oh, he had a great year one in North Carolina. Could he go back to the NFL? Or it's like, Bill Belichick's entering year 5 in North Carolina. Could this be his last before he retires from coaching? Could we have Steve Belichick as my head coach? Because that's the stipulation right now in North Carolina, that Steve Belichick will be the head coach after Bill Belichick, Bill Belichick's son, who's currently a defense coordinator at the University of Washington. He's a good coach, I'm sure, but no head coaching experience, even though, son of the greatest NFL coach of all time. It'd be interesting to see how this works. He's got a whole manifesto. They call it the Bible of Bill Belichick, a 400-page thing he sent North Carolina on his plans, his staff, everything that he's got going. He's going to have his guys in there. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but he had Matt Patricia in there, probably as his offense coordinator or his defense coordinator. He's had him in there as both. He might have Josh McDaniels in there. Already he's going to have Ben McDaniels in there, former Michigan quarterback coach, brother of Josh McDaniels. He's going to have Cliff Kingsbury in there probably, even though Cliff right now in the NFL. He could have Cliff be the offense coordinator in North Carolina, bring him back to the college ranks. It's going to be really interesting to see if Bill Belichick gets this job, how he develops the players. What's his NIL pitch? What's his recruiting pitch? It's not a Deion Sanders effect, or is it? Does he really get the people at North Carolina fired up to where they say, we're not just a basketball school, we're a football school too. Let's fill up this football stadium. That's what Kirk Cincinnati has done in Indiana. They're sometimes a basketball school, and they're never a football school until this year because of what Kurt Cincinnati has done for them at Indiana. Now, look at Deion Sanders in Colorado. They're not a school that was known for their sports. Deion Sanders went to Colorado, revived that whole entire university, it seemed like, and has brought them to really great likes in the Big 12. Now, I don't know if Bill Belichick can do that in the ACC with North Carolina, but it'd be sure interesting to see. Why not take the gander on having the greatest NFL coach of all time run your college program? Maybe he's a great recruiter. Maybe he knows what he's doing. Maybe Bill Belichick will lead you to greatness. Maybe he'll be better than Nick Saban. Maybe Bill Belichick will prove finally that it wasn't just Tom Brady who was a success. Maybe Bill Belichick thinks this stuff is easy. This is chess, not checkers like the NFL, not even. This is easy for me. I'm playing chess. You guys are playing checkers. He could say that to every other college ball head coach. But also, every other college ball head coach could say that to him due to NIL. There could be a kid, an 18-year-old kid, sitting there in Bill Belichick's house or whatever it might be, saying, okay, I want to come play for you. Pay me $500,000. Bill Belichick, I can guarantee you, would probably want to hang up that phone right then and there. But you can't do that as a college ball head coach. You have to hear these guys out. You have to listen about NIL. Now, Bill Belichick's NIL pitch might be, well, I'm the greatest NFL head coach of all time. Why don't you come play for me? Come make it to the NFL. You won't have to worry about this money in NIL, and I'll get you more money when you go to the NFL. Something to think about right there, everybody. Bill Belichick, what lane would I take if I were him? I would go to North Carolina. I would take the college job. If I was North Carolina, I would do the same thing. But also, you gotta worry about that age factor. Coming out of that Mac Brown situation, do you really want to go into another old age coach situation? Questions to think about. Leave your thoughts in the comments. This Bill Belichick situation. Still more to come on Square Sports Lane Frank, episode 194. You know how we like to give athletes nicknames? We do it all the time. We call Paul Pierce the Truth. We call Brady the GOAT. We call Jordan the GOAT. We call LeBron the King. One nickname I gave a player once was Superman. The player I gave the nickname Superman to was Caleb Williams after he won Texas OU game in 2021 as a true freshman where they were down and out. He came into that game. His first play was a 68-yard rushing touchdown. His second half was one of the greatest second halves I've ever seen in that rivalry. And that was a huge win for Oklahoma in a top 15 matchup. The problem is for Caleb Williams, I called him Superman after that. Issue with Caleb Williams is he has yet to win another big game since that game. It's a proven fact that that is the biggest game Caleb Williams has ever won in his career, that game right there. Rest of that Oklahoma season, they lost to Baylor, they lost to Oklahoma State. Both games Caleb Williams started, their season ended. They ended up playing the Alamo Bowl, so rough season for them at the end of that year. He goes over to USC. They're in prime position to make the playoff. He gets to go up against Utah, ends up losing that game to Utah in the Pac-12 championship. They say, no playoff for you, Trojans. 2023 USC season was a complete dumpster fire. They lose to Notre Dame. They lose to Utah. They lose to UCLA. They lose to a bunch of teams on that schedule. They went 7-5, and Caleb Williams was out of the door right out of that, everybody. Caleb Williams is a fraud, it seems like. But he's also this big-time player who was drafted number 1 because people think he's that guy who's going to win you that huge game. I should have saw this. I really should have. I thought Caleb Williams had every perfect tool to him. I thought he was going to a perfect situation. Perfect situation wasn't the perfect situation. The perfect quarterback wasn't the perfect quarterback. It's a fault on both sides. The Bears clearly weren't ready to have a franchise quarterback. Caleb Williams clearly wasn't ready to lead an entire franchise of veterans because that's what this Bear team is. It's not very young outside Caleb Williams. It's more veterans outside Caleb Williams. And let's say Rome Odunze. So they got him as number one wide receiver, Rome Odunze. They also have DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. Those guys are counting on Caleb Williams. DJ Moore is in the prime of his career. Keenan Allen's towards the tail end of his career. He's relying on a guy like Caleb Williams, a guy who has never won a big game out of his first game of his college career, where I called him Superman, everybody. So it's interesting right here. How can Caleb Williams respond? He can go into a shell after this rookie season. He can have a terrible NFL career. He can be that Ryan Leaf, that Joey Harrington, that big NFL bust. Or he can prove the doubters wrong. He can have a great NFL career. Tom Brady didn't play his rookie year. Peyton Manning threw 25 interceptions his rookie year. Those guys are in the Hall of Fame. Those guys are the two greatest quarterbacks of all time. I don't know if we're going to see that at Caleb Williams, but I sure hope so. Because that's what I'm worried about right now with Caleb Williams is you have never won a big game. It's time to finally win the big ones. He's not doing that in the NFL, and he really never did that in college outside of that one game. So go back and think about it. You'll see Caleb Williams has one big win in his college football career, and it's his first game ever where I called him Superman. That's about it for my Caleb Williams spotlight this week, everybody. Stay tuned. Now, College Football Showcase, everybody. We've had a very eventful past week in college football. We obviously had the crazy SEC championship game, the great Big 12 championship game, the insane ACC championship game that everybody thinking on Sunday, is Alabama going to get in or was it SMU? It was the Ponies who got in. You can see all my analysis on that on the Schoolyard Sports Instagram and Twitter, both at Schoolyard Sports. But let's break down how each of these 12 teams in the College Football Playoff can win the College Football Playoff, starting with number one Oregon. How can number one Oregon win the College Football Playoff? The plan for Oregon is do what you've done all year. Play with good defense, play with aggressiveness, play with the best third down offense in the country where this defense thinks, oh, we got them off their heels. We're going to get this stop and we're going to win this game. And then Oregon every time gets a big play. Noah Whittington is a great running back. Jordan James is a great running back. Terrence Ferguson is insane as a tight end. This receiver room led by Evan Stewart's really good. And it ties all together as Dylan Gabriel, their quarterback, and Dan Lanning, their head coach. Do what you've done all year. You're walking out of this thing national champions on January 20th. 1, Oregon. 2, the Georgia Bulldogs. How can they win this national championship? So they're going to be without Carson Beck, it looks like. Carson Beck, similar injury to Brock Purdy that Brock Purdy had in the 2023 NFC Championship game, tearing his UCL. That's what's going to happen to Carson Beck. That's what happened to him, unfortunately, in that Texas game. He can't play this rest of his college ball playoff. And I was surprised when I saw Gunnar Stockton. From what I've heard about Gunnar Stockton before is that he is nothing. He is not ready to be a college football D1 Power 5 quarterback, but he proved that wrong on Saturday. Now, maybe he was playing off adrenaline. He wasn't exactly making quarterback plays. He was making survival-type plays, but it was working for Georgia, and they got the win over Texas. They weren't doing anything with Carson Beck in the first half. They put up about 20 points with Gunnar Stockton. So what I say for them is study Haynes King, study Diego Pavia, study how these guys in these programs run the football with their quarterback. They don't let him throw it too much, and they win these football games. That's what Georgia needs to do, Gunnar Stockton, and let their defense be their defense, and they're walking out of this thing national champions. Number 3 on this list, Boise State. How can they be national champions? Now, they have the lowest odds of any team in this field, but the only way Boise State can be national champions is if Ashton Jeanty is really as good as advertised. And we've seen it all year out of him, but if he can continue to do that, and maybe even on a larger level, they've played one great team all year. That's number 1, Oregon. They should have won that game. Really close game at the end. They got robbed a little bit. Oregon had a kick return touchdown. The guy actually dropped the ball at the 1-yard line. Boise State would have won that game if it wasn't for that drop, if it wasn't for that missed call. But Boise State, nonetheless, the 3 team in the country in this college ball playoff seeding. I think Boise State, Ashton Jeanty have a great shot if they can play as advertised. We're just going to have to see how it goes. Boise State run the ball through Ashton Jeanty, and you'll be walking out of this thing as national champions. 4, Arizona State, similar to Boise State, play with the same adrenaline you've done all year, play with that same drive, motor, and run the ball through Cam Skattebo, one of the best running backs in the country. Exciting to watch, just powerful. I watched a Cam Skattebo highlight tape the other day from high school. Whew, this guy was incredible. Imagine going to school with Cam Skattebo in high school. This guy would run all over guys, having a long day of, let's say, Algebra 2 calculus, that having to go out there and guard and defend Cam Skattebo all night in high school must have been rough. Cam Skattebo, play through him. ASU has a real shot to win this thing come the end of January. 5, Texas. This can be controversial. Switch to Arch Manning as a quarterback. Switch to Arch Manning. Yes, the reason Texas lost to Georgia on Saturday was because Quinn Ewers couldn't do what a quarterback needs to do to beat Georgia. Quarterback needs to do to beat Georgia is put some zip on the ball, run the ball a little bit, and play with some guts. Quinn Ewers couldn't do any of those things. You watch Quinn Ewers, he doesn't zip the ball. He lofts the ball on every single throw. He doesn't scramble. He makes bad decisions at times. Can't read the pocket that well. A little bit conservative. When everything's perfect for Quinn Ewers, he's perfect. When you're playing Georgia, nothing's perfect for a quarterback. For Arch Manning, I think he could bring a little different level to this offense. They have 2 weeks to install Arch Manning as their quarterback. They should do it. Texas, make the switch to Arch Manning as your quarterback, and you will be national champions come the end of January. 6, Penn State. Keep going with that same solid defense led by Abdul Carter. Run the ball a little bit more, Noah Singleton. Let's bring back freshman year Noah Singleton. Pull up those highlights. He's incredible. And Drew Aller needs to make the best plays of his football career in this playoff if they want to be national champions at the end of it. 6, Penn State. 7, Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame realizes now, okay, we messed up. We lost in Illinois week 2. We're paying for that mistake. We would be number 2 in the country right now if it wasn't for that. We're paying for that mistake. Notre Dame since then has been the best team in college football. It seems like even over Oregon, they put up better stats than any team. They've played a really tough schedule, and they're the number 7 team in the country. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't let the outsiders get to you. And I think Notre Dame can walk out of this thing national champions. 8, Ohio State. Play like a $20 million roster. You have a $20 million roster. You're the best roster on paper. Time to start playing like it, and you'll be national champions at the end of it all. You can't play like how you did against Michigan. You can't play like how you did at the end of the game against Oregon, which you should have won on the road. Play like you have a $20 million roster, which they do, and they'll walk out of this thing national champions. 8, Ohio State. 9, Tennessee. Rely on your defense. This is a really good defense led by James Pierce. Also, rely on your running game. You play Ohio State up at the shoe. The blueprint for beating Ohio State, the shoe is play like Michigan, play with good defense, and play with a great running game. Don't let Nico Amaleva make too many plays in this college ball playoff, and you will be national champions at the end of it. 10, Indiana. Play with that same confidence. Play with that same swagger you did up until that Ohio State game. Everything was easy for Indiana up until the Ohio State game. They never trailed. They never had a rough game. Maybe Michigan was a little bit wake-up call for them. But they really never struggled until the Ohio State game. And that thing went sideways quick. They scored a touchdown in the first drive. They stopped Ohio State in the first drive. Made bad errors then. They dropped the punt. They gave a punt return touchdown. That cost them about 14 points in that game. They had way too many sacks given up. Indiana, if they can put that same swagger they did in the beginning of the season, the Kurt Cignetti swagger, they could beat anybody in the country, and that's how they're national champions at the end of this. Play with that same swagger and confidence you did at the beginning of the year, you'll walk out of here national champions. 10, Indiana. 11, SMU. Play through Kevin Jennings. Kevin Jennings has the best legs of any quarterback in this playoff. He's a really good player. Don't let him make too many turnovers. Rhett Lashley, put the game plan together. That Clemson game is a wake-up call. First loss with Kevin Jennings, their true starting quarterback. I wouldn't call him the true starting quarterback in that BYU game. They're still shuffling between him and Preston Stone. So Kevin Jennings, you need to run the ball a little bit better, take care of the ball a little bit better. As Nick Saban says, be a two-handed monster. Keep 2 hands on the football, not just one, because somebody will take it out of your hands one day. That's what Clemson did on Saturday night against SMU. That's why they won that game. So let's go with 11, SMU. Kevin Jennings, play some really smart football, and you will be national champions at the end of this thing. 12, Clemson. This one's exciting to me. Clemson is a championship-winning program. Cade Klubnik's a championship-winning quarterback. He beat Quinn Ewers in the state championship, the same quarterback he'll probably be going up against the college ball playoff unless they make the switch to Arch Manning. Phil Moffitt's a decent running back. He had a bad ACC championship game. They have good receivers in this team. If they can play like a championship-winning program, if Dabo can coach like a championship-winning head coach, you will be national champions at the end of this college ball playoff. So that's the number 12 team, and those are all the teams in the college ball playoff and how they are going to win the national championship. I could give you a reason on why they couldn't, but that'd be no fun. This is why these teams are going to win the national championship, and that's about for the first part, College Ball Showcase, everybody. Now, College Ball Showcase Part 2. Everybody, let's break down the Heisman Trophy, which we have being revealed on Saturday night. Who is going to be the next Heisman Trophy winner? We have a lot of great finalists. We have Cam Ward of Miami, a transfer. We have Travis Hunter, Colorado, a transfer. We have Dylan Gabriel of Oregon, a transfer. And we have Ashton Genty, the running back out of Boise State. Let's break it down. All these guys have had great seasons. So let's rank them from 4 to 1. Who's going to win the Heisman? Coming in at number 4, unfortunately, is Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel has the best team around him. That's not a knock. But Dylan Gabriel put a little pressure on him like Wisconsin did. He can struggle a little bit. He still had a really good year, though. Dylan Gabriel is the 4th best player in college football. He's coming out at number 4 on my Heisman list. 3, Cam Ward. Cam Ward has had the best quarterback season of anybody in the country, and he's had some great games. If they don't lose those 2 games, to Georgia Tech and to Syracuse, he might be in the top 2 on this list. But no, he wouldn't actually, everybody. Because these top 2 guys are 2 guys that I've never seen go this close in the Heisman debate in college football. I'll say this. Ashton Jeanty has had the best running back season I've ever seen out of anybody in college football. I don't care that he's playing in the Mountain West. I've still never seen a running back do this before. Travis Hunter cares to differ, saying, oh, running backs have done what Ashton Jeanty have done before. People have never done what I've done. Let me humble you a little bit, Travis Hunter. Charles Woodson did the same thing as you. He also won the Heisman, though. So can you fulfill that legacy as a two-way player and win the Heisman? We're just going to have to wait and see on Saturday. But for my pick, the Heisman Trophy winner of this year's 2024 Heisman Trophy will be Ashton Jeanty, everybody, running back out of Boise State. I think it's been a common theme all year that Jeanty has been the best player in college football. You can say what you want about Travis Hunter. You can say he's a jack of all trades, master of none. You can say he's a cardio king. You can't deny he's a great college football player with the amount of deflections he has in the passing game, with the amount of interceptions he has in the passing game, with the amount of touchdowns he also has in the offensive passing game. He's an incredible college football player. But he is no Ashton Jeanty. Ashton Jeanty has 2,000 rushing yards. He can get to 3,000 by the end of the college football playoff. He has seemingly a 50-yard touchdown run every game. He could have played way more this year in some of these games, these blowout games, if he wanted to. For Travis Hunter, he played in a lot of these blowout games towards the end, stat padding, you could say. And they both had great seasons. But he's number 2, Travis Hunter, and Ashton Jeanty is number 1. 4, Dylan Gabriel, 3, Cam Ward, 2, Travis Hunter, and 1, the Boise running back that could, Ashton Jeanty, becoming the first Boise State running back to win the Heisman and the first Group of 5 Heisman in a long time, everybody. That's about for my College Pro Showcase this week. Now, the best for last, question day. This week's question day is, who has been the best player in the NFL this year? Is it Justin Jefferson? Is it Josh Allen? Is it Saquon Barkley? Is it someone else? Give your answer in the comments. That's about for question day. Who is the best player in the NFL this season? That's part of Squared Sports, Elaine Frank, episode 194. Thank you for tuning in. Follow Squared Sports on Instagram at Squared Sports. Follow Squared Sports on X at Squared Sport. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review for the best sports content in the world. Be back next week, episode 195. Stay tuned.